There's a number in your farm business that quietly determines how much money you make every year. And most farmers have never actually calculated it. Today, we're going to find it. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. Let's get started. Hey there, this is Corinna Bench, and welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast. In today's market, it's not enough to just grow your product. You've got to know how to sell it too. Welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast, where we reveal online marketing strategies and tips to help farmers like you get better and more confident at marketing. Learn how to find more customers, increase your sales, and build a strong brand for your farm. Let's start the show. Well, welcome to episode 359 of the My Digital Farmer podcast. I'm your host, Corinna Bench, one of the farmers at Shared Legacy Farms out in Elmore, Ohio. I'm also the founder of MyDigitalFarmer.com, which is all about trying to help other farmers get more confident in their marketing and sales strategy so that you can grow a profitable business. How's everyone doing today? Big shout out to all of my regular digital farmers. Welcome back to the show. If you're new to the podcast, I'm so glad you're here today. Make sure you subscribe to the show. Go check out my first 10 episodes because I designed them years ago to be an onboarding into the marketing lingo. Yes, when I first started this show, I actually thought about my future listeners years from now. And I intentionally stitched those first 10 episodes together because I wanted to lay kind of a roadmap foundation for people. So that's always a good place to go. You can also get onto my email list, which is free. And when you do that, I'm going to send you an email into your inbox every 4 or 5 days for like 3 months. And those are also very intentionally sequenced so that they build on each other and you learn the framework of marketing. I point you to certain podcast episodes, certain resources, free trainings and tools. It's really good. I encourage you to get on it. Hopefully you find it value. And if you don't, you can always unsubscribe. So you can get on that list by going to mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. Today's podcast is sponsored by my friends at LocalLine. If you run a CSA or you sell direct or wholesale or you manage both, LocalLine helps you simplify your operations and scale with confidence. I love this platform. In 2025, farms and food hubs using LocalLine grew their sales by 33%. Average order values increased by 31%, and total order count grew by 9%. That is real results across operations of all sizes. LocalLine brings everything together into one platform. So CSA management, wholesale ordering, access to new wholesale opportunities. They have automated inventory, barcode scanning, a box builder. They even have a POS. And that means you spend less time managing admin and more time growing your business. Switching couldn't be easier. There are no setup fees, no sales commissions, and their onboarding team will even migrate your storefront for free, taking the workload off your plate. As a podcast listener, you'll get one premium feature free for a full year when you use the code MDF2026 at checkout. So head to mydigitalfarmer.com/LocalLine, all one word, then use that code MDF2026 and you'll get that discount. Start the season strong with LocalLine. It's streamlined, efficient, and built for growth. And now back to the show. All right, today we're starting out with some mail that I got. This was so fun. It came from a podcast listener, Kendall Meadows. I got it yesterday. It's this really beautiful postcard that it looks like she actually drew some asparagus spears on the front with either watercolors or marker. I can't tell, but it's really pretty. And then on the back, a handwritten note. And I wanted to read it. She wrote, "Thank you for episode 355. That was just a few weeks ago. I felt like you were talking directly to me, and it was just the encouragement I needed. I suspect you know that your work helps a lot of people, but I'm sure it's still nice to hear it anyways. Have a great season. Love, Kendall Meadows. Well, Kendall, yes, it really is nice to hear it anyways. And I want to thank you for taking the time to hunt down my address on my farm's website, probably, so that you could send this to me. I was very thoughtful, and I'm going to put it on my bulletin board here in my office and be inspired by it. So if you're enjoying the show, everyone, send me a note like that and I'll read it online. I'll read it on the air, or you can go to the podcasts on Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. I love reading them. I do read them. And when they come in the mail like this, that is just like one of the best things ever. So if you're getting anything out of my podcast, let me know. Sometimes I just sit here and record onto the airwaves and I wonder, I mean, I can go look at my stats. I know people are listening, but still, it's nice. It's nice to hear. All right. Today, I'm excited about this one. This topic was inspired by the time of year because you guys, we are getting started here with our main season. If you're in North America, at least, some of you have started already. And I'm kind of switching over. I'm turning away from my off-season schedule and getting back into a new workflow. And I want to set us up for success as we're beginning to pitch offers and get more intentional about sales and marketing in the main season. I want to point your eyes, fix your attention on a very important metric that you should be measuring, that you should actually know by heart. So let me start out with a question. What do you think is the way to grow your farm business? Like if you wanted to grow the amount of revenue that you produced on your farm, what would you say? What's your go-to answer? Just say it right now, wherever you are, in the tractor, in the car, maybe you're in the pack shed, just speak it out loud. Or if you're with a team, let's all make a guess or hit pause and share your ideas. Okay, I am guessing that many of you probably said something like, I need to find more customers. I'm raising my hand here. That is what I used to say all the time. That was my go-to default answer. That is actually a legitimate way to grow your revenue. I'm not knocking that. But what if the real lever isn't actually getting more people, but rather getting more value from the people you already have? And there is a number that tells you exactly how your business is doing. And most farmers have never calculated it. And that number is customer value. Customer value. What is that? Well, customer value is the average amount that a customer spends with you in 1 year. And how do you calculate it? Well, the easy way to do it is to go into your e-commerce provider, if you track that, or maybe to Square or whatever, and take your total revenue and divide it by the number of customers. That'll give you kind of a basic customer value number. It's called the CV, the acronym. Another way you might do this is to kind of ballpark it if you don't have an e-commerce platform that you can use. You can take a look at your signature products, the things that you typically sell, and you can estimate how many of those products most of your customers buy in a typical year, and then that can kind of get you at a ballpark figure. Okay, those are a couple different ways you might figure out what that number is. Okay, now there's also something called lifetime customer value. This is known as LCV, and that is simply computed by taking the customer value and multiplying it by the average number of years your customer stays with you. Okay, so now that I have defined this metric for you, do you know what yours is off the top of your head? Everyone's shaking their head. I hope that by the end of today, you will do the work to figure out what this number is. And I'm going to make a case for why this number is so important. And I'm hopefully going to empower you and inspire you through this episode to show you how you can get this number to go up pretty easily in ways that you may not imagine. So my customer value is $2,050. That means I know that my average customer spends about $2,000 a year with me. And that means that as new customers come into my funnel, I can pretty almost guarantee that within a couple of years, they're going to be earning that much for me, right? That's really exciting when I think about it that way. Now, imagine if you knew what your number was. Now you have that benchmark in mind. And of course, the goal is to always try and get that to go higher. If you don't even know what the number is, then you're kind of shooting around in the dark. You don't know if what you're doing is making an impact. So I really encourage you at the very least today to go and try to figure out what your CV is, just so you're aware. And then we can begin the work of trying to do different strategies to get it to go up. We're going to spend the rest of the episode talking about that. Now, just also imagine if you could raise that customer value, the average amount a customer spends with you in a year, if you could raise that by 20%, what does that do to that number? If you could raise it by 50%, if you could double it, that's significant revenue for some of you. All right, so I've talked about this several times on the show. It gets brought up a lot in farm marketing school because it's important. There are 4 main levers that you can pull that will increase your customer value. If you want to know, how do I get that to go higher, Krina? If that is the focus this year, you want to make more revenue, well, you need to increase your customer value. How do we do that? There are 4 ways. Number 1 is you can increase the prices of your products. That's a really easy way to do it. Even if you just increase it by 10%, you'll see a bump in your customer value. The second way is you can increase the average order value. That's the amount that a person spends in any given transaction. Again, if you can just raise that by 10 to 20%, you'll see a bump in your customer value. If you can increase the purchase frequency, so the number of times they come and buy from you in a given year, even just increasing that by 10%, 20%, 1 or 2 or 3 times, think about how much that would add if everybody did that. It's another way to increase your customer value. And then the 4th way is you can expand your product ladder. That's kind of getting at number 3. But if you sell more things, if you make more offers, then you will pull that frequency lever, right? A person comes back and buys that thing because you now have something else to offer, or they stick it in their cart and it increases the average order value. So increase price, increase average order value, increase the purchase frequency, or expand your product ladder, offer more products. Now, in the early years of our business, I would say the first 6, 7 years, all we had was a CSA box. Shared Legacy Farms sold a CSA share for 18 weeks. It was priced at a certain amount. I want to say it was like $400. And that was it. We pitched it. We found our customers. We delivered on the product. At the end of the year, we pitched something else. We pitched it again, right? Will you renew your share? And we didn't have anything else to offer them. I think by the second year, we were offering a fruit share. So now we could give them another product. So we made a little bit more money, but we didn't have any other moment in the year where we sold anything. And looking back on that now, I see what a missed opportunity that was, because that was my ceiling. I would only ever earn $400 from this customer every year unless I found some other things to offer them, unless I had other products to sell. So adding products is a huge part of unlocking your growth. and breaking that ceiling. And some of you need to hear that today. For some of you, that's the big aha moment because you're still early on in your business and that hasn't occurred to you yet. Okay. So keeping your eye fixed on this customer value number, the number they can spend with you in 1 year, is really important. If it is locked in place because you only have one thing that you sell per year, then you're landlocked, right? You won't be able to make that go higher. So why does this metric matter so much? Okay, why do we even care? And I actually want to suggest that this might be one of the most important metric numbers in your entire business, because once you know it, a few really powerful things start to shift and happen. I have a big list of things here. I really tried to cut it down, but they are all so important for you. And I want to make a case for what seeing this number is going to help you analyze and how it's going to shift the way that you do marketing and sales. Okay. So first of all, it's going to give you predictability and the peace of mind that comes with that. When you know your average customer's value or worth, let's say it's $400 a year or $1,200 a year, or in my case, $2,000 a year, you can start to forecast. You can say, well, if I have 200 customers, I can expect around this much revenue, and you can count on that and you can budget for it, which is huge when it comes to peace of mind. And if you have, a goal in mind for sales, like, okay, I want to grow by 10 more customers who are going to produce at that level, you can predict, a 5-year forecast of how your business will grow and what you can do in terms of capital expenses or how to slowly invest in your business to get to where you want to go. Right? So if I grow to 250 customers, here's what that could look like in terms of numbers. And now you're not guessing anymore. And you can budget with confidence, and you can make hiring decisions or plans, or you can plan inventory and mix up things with your crops, right? You start to understand what a normal year looks like, what the benchmark is, and that allows you then to feel really good about I actually grew this year. I actually developed. I can see progress. Okay. That's the first thing. Second of all, knowing your customer value completely changes how you think about marketing, because now you're making smarter marketing decisions. You know what a customer is actually worth. So instead of asking things like, is $30 too much to spend on acquiring a customer through a Facebook ad? You start asking, okay, well, if a customer is worth $600 to me in 1 year, would I spend $30 to get one? And suddenly that Facebook ad, that cost per lead, feels different. Or doing some kind of a giveaway when you try to get someone to take your gateway offer and you're taking like a $5 hit because you're basically giving it away for free. Like, it feels different because you know what your customer is actually worth. Lead magnets feel different. And you begin to understand there's a difference between the cost per lead, which is the cost of getting someone on your email list. They may not buy yet, right? First, they're just an email lead. And the cost per customer, which is getting someone to actually convert and buy. So you just stop guessing about what's too expensive, or you stop feeling guilty about that. You step more confidently into that space of investing in lead acquisition because you have a number that is guiding those decisions. That is really huge, because I used to be totally against spending money to acquire customers because I'm like pinching pennies. And now that I know what an average customer brings me in a year, it's like a no-brainer to spend $10, $20, $30 to acquire that customer. Okay, number 3. The other reason I love knowing what my customer value number is it shows me where the growth is actually coming from. And I think a lot of farmers get this wrong or just miss this. A lot of us think if I want to grow my business, I need more customers. That's kind of our default setting. And that's where we spend a lot of our attention and a lot of our marketing. That is common for farmers who come into farm marketing school. They come in thinking, I'm joining farm marketing school because I need to learn how to get more customers. But when you take the metrics class, in farm marketing school, we go really deep into all this, and you start to see, there's an amazing calculator in there that kind of shows you what it looks like in the 3D world in real time if you were to shift very specific numbers. But you start to see that growth looks more like getting someone to buy one more time per season, or getting someone to spend $10 more per visit. That also has a huge impact on your revenue growth. Those are some powerful levers you can pull. Instead of just, that one lever of get more customers in the door. Well, what if you're also pulling the other levers of getting the AOV to go higher and getting them to buy more frequently and raising the price? I mean, you can quickly double your revenue if you raise all four of those by just a fraction of percentage, right? That adds up fast. So if your average customer is spending just $300 a year and you increase it to $375 using some different marketing strategies that we learn in farm marketing school, you just grew your business by 25%. And you did it without adding a single new customer. Okay, so let me show you what this looks like in real life. I wanted to have a real life example here. And I had to go to ChatGPT for this because I needed it to help me kind of do the scenario and the hypothetical and the numbers. So let's just imagine a vegetable farmer selling at a farmer's market. I know that's a lot of you who are listening. And let's just say you've got about 150 regular customers. So this is where I just plugged in numbers and I asked AI to help me flesh out what this would look like. On average, let's say each of those customers spends about $30 per visit. Again, I was just thinking through like what we typically saw when we were at the market. And let's say that those customers shop roughly 10 times in the main season. Okay. So if those are your metrics, your customer value would be $30 times 10 visits, and that's $300 per customer per season. Okay. Now, if you had 150 customers at that $300 level, that's $45,000 per year. And that would be your baseline. That's what your current system is producing. Okay. Now I want to walk you through what happens when you pull these different levers. Okay. So let's just say that you chose to pull the lever of AOV. You are going to increase the average order value. What if we don't get more people that season? We just help each person spend a little bit more each time they're at the booth. So maybe you introduce dinner kits or $35 to $40 bundle options. Maybe you even have a sign up that lets people know that most people are spending about $30, or you build offers that encourage people to spend $40, $45, because if they do, they're going to get a free seasoning packet. I don't know. Okay. So now your average spend per visit might jump from $30 to $36. So now your customer value changes to $36 times 10 visits. Now you're at $360 for your annual revenue per customer. And that bumps your revenue up to $54,000 a year if all 150 customers do that, right? That's a $9,000 increase. And you haven't found a single new customer. Now, the other option is you could pull a different lever. You could pull the frequency, the purchase frequency lever. So if instead of spending more each time, you're just finding ways to get those 150 customers to come back more often and spend what they typically spend. So maybe you increase their visits from 10 to 12 visits per season. How would you do that? Well, if you get consistent about sending a weekly email reminder, or maybe you're including fun recipes with a particular seasonal item to get people's curiosity piqued. Maybe you introduce loyalty cards. There's lots of different ways you can do this. And now let's say your customer value bumps up to 12 visits. That's $30 times 12 visits. That's $360. Okay. And again, pulling that particular lever, you would have $54,000. Same result, just pulling a different lever. Are you seeing how this works? Now, the third lever you could pull is just to add a different product. Maybe you expand the basket. So you add eggs and bread and herbs and value-added items to your product suite. And the average spend rises to $45 per visit because people are putting more stuff into their basket. The customer value jumps to $450 a year from $360. That's $45 times 10 visits. And so your new revenue under that system would be 150 customers times 450, 67,500. Same customers, but they just buy more products from you. Okay, now stick with me because I have one more example here. What if you stacked 2 of these levers at the same time? What if you got the AOV to increase a bit from $30 to $36 and you got their frequency to rise from 10 to 12 visits? Now, if you do all the math, I'll spare you the details. Your new revenue would be $64,800. That's a $20,000 increase, again, without adding a single new customer. So let's compare that to the default strategy that we all have of just trying to get more customers. And that's what we think is the way to grow our revenue. If your customer value stayed the same at $300 and you would want to hit that $64,800, you would need 216 customers instead of your 150. That's 66 new customers you'd have to find. So what's easier, finding 66 brand new people to shop from you or getting your current customers to spend $6 more per visit and come 2 more times, right? Do you see that? This is a big shift. And I think a lot of farmers market vendors are playing this traffic game when we need to be playing the relationship game. So that was a lot for number 3, but I just want to hammer home. This is why it's important to know your customer value number. Number 4, it also helps you identify your best customers and build around them. Not all of your customers are the same, right? And we tend to treat everyone equally. But when you look at your data, you're going to see that some people are spending $100 a year. Some people are spending $1,000 a year. And you can start to ask some better questions like, who are my best customers? What are they buying? How are they buying? How did they get there? What path did they take through my business to turn into that kind of buyer? And that's where it gets kind of fun because now you're reverse engineering the journey of your ideal customer. And you're not just guessing what people want. You're starting to build a system that creates more of those best customers. And it really is about building a system. That's what Farm Marketing School is all about, helping you build each of the marketing assets, each of the different pieces of the marketing machine, eventually stitching them all together and tweaking them until you get this optimized customer that's just moving through. It's almost like a race, a runner on a race, and we're passing the baton through the race from one piece of your marketing machine to the next until they graduate and turn into this frequent buyer. Knowing your customer value also helps you design better offers. And I want to distinguish that, not just better products, but better offers. Customer value is really a reflection of how many times people buy, times how much they spend, times how long they stay, right? So if you want to grow that number, you have those 3 levers to play with: order frequency, average order value, or you could increase their retention. And that means your promotions, all your bundles, your add-ons, the shares, the products, they aren't random anymore. They are intentional moves to lift one of those levers. Are you tracking that? We're not just like, oh, I feel like making a product. This would be fun. We're thinking through the lens of average order value, order frequency, retention. And if it doesn't serve one of those things, it may not be something worth pursuing. You can literally say, I'm doing this offer because it's designed to increase the average order value. Or I'm building the campaign this way because it's all about getting a second purchase. You're not just selling products anymore, but you're designing behavior, buying behavior. That's a kind of big mindset shift. And You can do that more easily when you know the customer value. You start to think more in terms of offers. I need to build better offers. I think it also, knowing your customer value also helps you decide what not to do. This is where we talk about opportunity cost a little bit. When you know what that specific number is, you can evaluate all the different opportunities you have to sell differently. You can ask things like, should I add this product? Should I go to that extra market? Should I run this discount? And instead of just asking like, is this going to make me money? You're asking, will this attract the kind of customer who grows into my ideal customer, who's going to spend at that ideal customer value number? And if the answer is no, it might be a distraction. Even if it brings in cash flow in the short term, if it's sucking your energy away, or if it's keeping you from an opportunity that would allow you to pull those 3 levers better, then it might be a easy no. That's kind of something you have to evaluate. I have a couple more. I know this is long, but this is so good. I need you to understand. Customer value is going to give you confidence to play the long game. When you know this number, you feel really confident about what you're doing in the long play. Before you know the number, everything feels risky. But after you know it, you're thinking things like, okay, I'm breaking even on the first purchase. I'm okay giving away value up front because I know this is what they turn into and it works out in the long run. I'm okay nurturing this lead for 6 months before they buy because my numbers show me that this is the customer value and it's worth it, right? You have confidence in the long game. You trust that the relationship does pay off over time. That is a huge thing. I can't stress that enough because it makes you feel different about your work. And a lot of times I think one of the reasons we get stuck in our marketing is because we just feel a certain way about it. It feels heavy. It feels hopeless. It feels like we're not making progress. It feels like we're backed into a corner. We don't see the possibilities. We don't have that bird's eye view and see the whole picture. But when we zoom up like a bird and we can see the whole customer value, 1 year, this customer brings me this, and oh my gosh, they stay with me for 8 years. They're going to bring me this much revenue. Suddenly that problem, that corner we think we're backed into is no longer there. And we realize it's just an illusion. And we have confidence to play the long game, to say, yep, I'm breaking even on the first purchase. Looks like I'm not making money, but I know this is going to pay off. All right. And then finally, knowing your customer value is going to help you diagnose what's broken. You're going to have leaks in your sales funnel. And knowing this number is going to help you troubleshoot what they are in your business so you know where to work. So if your customer value feels low, it's usually pointing to a problem. If people don't come back, that's a retention problem. That means you're not doing something in the excite phase of the customer value journey. You're not onboarding them properly. You're not showing them how to use the product well. They're not experiencing success with the product. There's something wrong in the fulfillment aspect. If they don't buy often, it's just a frequency problem. And that may mean that you're just not making offers often enough. If they don't spend that much, it's an AOV problem. And there are all kinds of strategies that you can pull there to increase the AOV. So instead of like this vague frustration, of sales are inconsistent, I can't get people to buy, like you can say things like, well, we're losing people after the second purchase. And now you know exactly where to work, what you need to try and fix, what's broken and where in the pipeline. All right. So this is just a really big shift. When you know your customer value, it's reframing everything. It's moving from looking at transactions to relationships, right? You stop thinking, how do I sell this bunch of carrots? And you start thinking like, How do I turn this person into a 3-year, $2,000 a year customer? That changes how you write emails. That changes how you talk to people at your booth. It changes how you decide to follow up, how you design your offers, right? Everything becomes about building the relationship, and it's not just about making that one sale in that moment. Today's podcast is sponsored by Farm Marketing School, my monthly membership for farmers. Before we dive back into the episode, I want to speak to a very specific kind of farmer for a second. If you're a year or two into your business and things are working, but your marketing still feels kind of scattered, like you're posting, you're sending some emails, you're running promotions, but it all feels disconnected and you're not sure what's actually driving sales, I just want to say that's not a lack of effort. That's just a lack of structure. Because most farmers don't need more ideas. What they need is a system that connects everything together. And that's exactly why I built Farm Marketing School. Inside, I teach you how to actually design your marketing so that it works like a machine, a system, not a bunch of random tactics. We map out your full customer journey. We build your email engine. We create intentional promotions and product pathways. So your marketing starts handing off from one piece to the next like a relay race instead of you running every leg yourself. And we do it through 30-day project builds. So you're not just learning about marketing, you're actually finishing things. You're actually building the marketing assets in your marketing machine, your sales funnel, your promotions, your lead magnet, your weekly email rhythm, all your marketing assets. And that's when the shift happens. Marketing starts to feel lighter. The flywheel starts to spin. Sales start to feel more predictable. And you finally feel like, okay, I'm on the right track. I know what I'm doing. If that's what you've been longing for and what you've been missing, then I want to invite you to join Farm Marketing School just for a month. Come inside and see what it's all about. You can learn more at mydigitalfarmer.com/FMS. And now, back to the show. Okay, so we've just spent a lot of time talking about why customer value matters, why you need to know this number, why knowing this number is going to unlock you and just shift so much about how you think about what you're doing in marketing. How do we actually pull on those levers, right? How do we increase or maximize that customer value? And I'm going to just offer a couple of suggestions here. Like, what does this look like in the 3D world? Number one, it means that you need to map out your offer ladder. Some of you haven't done this yet. You have a whole bunch of products in your product suite, but you haven't really thought through the sequence with which you want to pitch them to your people. You can't grow customer value if you don't know what you're selling, but also if you don't have a plan and a path for how to sell it. You won't optimize the revenue growth there and the customer value. So you should at the very least list every product you sell in a given year. This can be, month by month. I know for me, we sell every vegetable under the sun in the summer, right? I could list all of those out for that season when we're in the online store mode, pitching people stuff in our online store. But I also have things like a spring plant sale that I pitch in March, and I have a chicken CSA share, 5-month bag that we sell in January, right? So I list out all of the different products that I want to promote. And then I identify which ones are entry-level offers. What's your gateway? And you might have several, depending on the season. Maybe you've got a certain gateway that's more at the beginning in Q1, and there's a different gateway product in the main season in Q3, okay? Identify your core offers. What are your signature offers where you're trying to get people to graduate to? What are your premium offers? This is add-ons, but it could also be things that only a small percentage of your people buy. but your super fans eventually get there, right? Just what are they all? Put them all in order and try to figure out what is the natural path that a customer takes. Okay. So first of all, just map out the offer ladder and then design the ideal customer journey. Now, is everyone going to walk through the products and buy them in that order that you suggest? No, but there probably is a typical pattern that makes sense. Your job, remember, is to guide people in your business to the next obvious step. If you're not that person, then find someone on your team who is, but somebody in your marketing team should be guiding people and saying, this is where you start. Here's the door. And then after you come into the door, I'm going to take you into the next room. And this is what we do here. And then now we go and we do this. And now I'm going to pitch you this. Like, what is that process? What should they buy first? What should they buy next? What comes after that? And what is the mechanism that you will use to deliver those offers in sequence? It's not enough to just know, oh, this is the order I wish people would buy stuff in. You have to have like a thing you do to pitch the offer, whether that's an email, whether that's an SMS text, whether that's an automation of some sort, whether it's, I don't know, if you're small enough, I suppose you could just keep track of this somehow on paper, but like, how are you coaching people to the next step? Now, I use a promotion calendar to help me with a lot of this. And I've talked about this before, but every single month I do this in January where I map out all the different products that I'm going to sell in that next year. So in January, I sell my meat shares. February, I sell my store patron credit memberships. March is the big plant sale that we pre-sell and we deliver it in May. April, I sell a salad share with like a chef bundle add-on. May is our CSA samplers, is our big focus in filling out our CSA. And we have our fish promo, our partnership with Citizen Salmon Alaska. And then all through the summer months, so like June, July, August, September, is me just pitching my online store and trying to get people in through that gateway. And we have all different kinds of different vegetables and fruits that come in season at various times, and I'll kind of focus on those, build offers around those to get people in the door and try to get people to buy from the online store a certain number of times, okay? And then in October is our really big renewal push for our CSA. November, we have our Thanksgiving our big Thanksgiving store event where we're trying to move a lot of our inventory out. We get a lot of sales there. And I actually don't have anything going on in December. That's the one month, ironically, that we go quiet because we have nothing left in most cases. I'm missing an opportunity there. I realize that. But that's my like basic flow. Okay. And so I build that into a rough roadmap at the beginning of the year so that I know, okay, this is what I have to work on. This is what I'm pitching. This is what that offer needs to make. How am I going to design that offer to make that amount of revenue? Okay. So it's not random. It's a designed journey. And if you want to learn how to do that and build that promotion calendar, it is an amazing project in Farm Marketing School. I highly recommend it. It's a 30-day project build. You can probably get it done faster, but it helps you actually get that work done, at least a rough draft. And so then once I know what these different products are and when they typically get sold, then I'm using my mechanism of email to guide the behavior. Now, some of you might be using texting, SMS, or maybe you use signage at your roadside stands to let people know, here's what's coming next week. But there typically are kind of two different paths for how you might guide this behavior. Number one, if you're a launch-based business, kind of like I am, where I have specific products that are only offered for a certain amount of time, they're pre-sold, and we spend a lot of time marketing them. I launch them, I pre-launch them, launch them, they're done, then I move on to the next thing. So for that kind of stuff, I'm using weekly emails or broadcast emails or promotional emails. Maybe I have a seasonal promotion or a special offer that's trying to drive them to the online store or to the point of purchase. And then once I get them there, I have other methods there in place to increase the average order value of their cart. There's also like the use of repetition, use of urgency and scarcity in my offer to get them to buy now. The other path is if you're more of like an evergreen business. So if you have products that are available all the time. I know for some of you meat producers, you might produce enough stuff where you've always got bacon in your freezer and it never goes out of style. It never sells out. And so you could sell it online all day long, every single month, right? So for that kind of a business where the offer is evergreen, you would benefit from creating automated sequences. So building out promotional email sequences that once a person is subscribed to them, those different offers are pitched at a different time based on, how you set that up in the email promotion sequence. And there might be a behavior-based trigger. So if they click on this or if they buy this, then issue this offer, push this upsell, right? And that's a little more like next level. But those are kind of the two different ways that you would then take this path that you've built. You have this ideal kind of journey. You know the things that you want to pitch and they kind of go in this flow. You either are pitching them live in the moment, launch-based style with weekly emails in the moment. Maybe some of that is a little bit planned out. For example, my CSA renewal, I go live in the moment, right, to pitch that in October, but I have pre-written all of those promotional emails the week before. And so they just go on schedule. So I'm not having to like freak out and do it every day and stay on top of it. I've got it, set it and forget it and it goes. Okay. So you're either doing launch based or you're doing evergreen business style. But either way, you need to have some kind of mechanism that you're firing on a regular basis to pitch the offer. All right. So I just want to end with this. Not everything belongs in your product ladder. More products does not always equal better. I have learned the hard way that some offers drained our time. Some offers had very low margins, and I eventually realized they weren't worth it. In fact, they were stealing revenue from some of my other higher profit margin products. People were buying the thing that I barely made any profit margin on instead of the things that had higher profit margins. So I had to cut the stuff that really had low margins. Some offers are creating fulfillment headaches. This is maybe a silly example, but there was a time when we were selling ice cream as a share. And not only was the profit margin low, but if people didn't come to pick it up, I had to figure out a process for storing that ice cream so that, that one or two people that forgot and sometimes took 3 or 4 days to come get it, like I had to keep my giant freezer on for 2 half pints. Like it was just silly. And so I just was like, no, we're done. Like we're not doing this product anymore. So sometimes you really need to evaluate, is this product worth having? When I look at the customer value number, is this critical to have in my product suite? Is it really adding a lot? Is it drawing the customer in? Is it serving as the gateway or as a valued product to my customer? And I'm willing to eat the low profit margin because it's a big feature to my customer. They like having it. It's a big reason why they stay. Then I might be willing to keep it, right? I'm also thinking of like the farmer's market. I did a whole episode on this many years ago, but we left the farmer's market, which was a huge leap of faith for us. Mostly for this reason, because we began to look at our numbers and we saw that the customer value number from the farmer's market was really low. And for the amount of time we were spending the entire day before to harvest for it, and then spending all morning there, Kurt wouldn't get home on Saturday until probably 4 o'clock. Then he was spent, right? And when we looked at the actual revenue that came in for those 2 full days and then subtracted our expenses, that's 2 full days of Kurt, who could have done a lot of valued things on the farm with his time. we were losing money, like a lot of money, and it did not make sense. And we thought we could pre-sell product in an online store and bring it to our CSA pickup sites that we have to go to already. And we switched to that model. We left the farmer's market. And in the first year, I want to say we tripled our revenue. And it's just continued to grow. And so that model just wasn't serving us anymore because we got 2 full days back for Kurt, right? We were able to shift our workflow and our system. But that was very threatening at first. It felt risky because it was new and it was different. But that's a great example of how we knew what our numbers were. We saw the opportunity cost. Every product has an opportunity cost. Just because you can sell it doesn't mean that you should, right? Just because you do marketing a certain way or you have a certain marketing element doesn't mean you have to do it that way. You can get to a point in your business where you take a leap of faith and you shift to a different model. So I just want to throw that into the room because some of you need to hear that. Some of you are maybe ready to do some switching and testing, beta testing to see if it fits and increases your customer value. All right, so I have a homework assignment for you from this episode. It's really simple. I want you to compute your customer value. Go find out, what does an average customer spend in 1 year in your business? And you should know that number. And you should probably look at it every quarter and just see if it's staying at the baseline, if it's slightly going up. And then you're spending some time that next quarter brainstorming different ways that you could get it to go up. You're trying to figure out, how can I increase the average order value? How can I build offers that will increase order frequency? Can I raise the price? Can I add another product into my product suite that'll cause someone to come to the store who maybe didn't come before, and now that they're in there, they're going to spend more because I have little strategies to do that. And I've pulled the frequency lever, right? Like there's all different things that you can do. But once you know what your customer value number is, you can then begin to see if it's growing. You can begin to practice different methods to get it to go up. All right. I can help you in Farm Marketing School. This is my jam. This is what we do in there. There are so many projects. We have a monthly meetup over Zoom too, where you can bring your questions to the table. But it's really interesting, like this conversation around key metrics that you got to keep your eye on. This one comes up a lot. Average order value, order frequency, number of customers, price, offers. Like those are super important levers, powerful levers. And just pulling one of them can make a huge difference in your customer value. But if you pull 2 or 3 at the same time, holy cow, you can double your revenue. I'm not lying. No joke. So if you want to come in to Farm Marketing School and just play in the sandbox of marketing for a month or 2 and see what's in there, be a part of our community, I want to invite you. It is so fun. I love watching people come in there and transform. Like I have farmers that have been in there for like 15 months. Like I have a lot of people who've been in there over a year. So I know that it's helping them. And I just want to invite you into this community. I know that it's the main season, but this is when you're selling. This is when you're making offers and pitching, when you need to make the revenue. If you need some inspiration and you need to fix something or you need to launch a product, I just added a project called the Launch Formula. It teaches you the exact process to build a pre-launch and a launch, to launch any major signature product. The whole thing is in there. Like, there's so much good stuff in there. So I invite you to come in. I'd love to be a part of coaching you. Joining is easy. Just go to mydigitalfarmer.com/FMS. All right, today's show notes can be found at mydigitalfarmer.com/359. If you liked this episode, or if there's like a farmer coming to mind, where you're like, oh my gosh, they need to hear this, would you share this episode with them? Look, you just spread the love. Help people find out about the show. You guys, I want to help farmers. So help me get the word out that I exist. Come back here next week, get inspired. Remember, if you want to get onto my email list, it's free. I'm going to pour into you and just hopefully inspire you and give you motivation and just say, I believe in you and help you. So you can get on that list by going to mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. I would love if you would be in my community. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. Remember, I believe in you. What if this year is a breakthrough year for you? I know it can be. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.